Yeah, it's very difficult. And I've spoken with some serious experts on my show about the phenomenon, about the technology Silicon Valley builds. And these are $1 trillion of capital going in to create devices that are more addictive than anything we've known. And, I struggled with drugs in my past life, but there's nothing more addictive than what's on your phone. And it can move your emotions up and down and left and right. And it can control this narrative, and you don't even know what's happening. And, last year, Dave, I would meet people on the streets and I'd say, I'm being censored right now on YouTube. And they'd be like, oh, I heard about that one thing, but that's not anymore, is it? I'm like, every single thing is censored. I call it the Mr. Rogers channel now, because all I can do is put up Mr. Rogers content, because I can't say anything about, a disease, a mask, a vaccine, a lab. And so again, people, they don't honestly know what's happening. And the same with shadow bans and agenda engines. And I just don't know if people have woke up to the fact that it's happening. And I don't know. I feel like it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. What I would say is the more we it has to. The more we come in contact with each other, the better. I mean, when I was out on the streets talking to people, then everything went along the wayside and people said, oh, now I know who you are, Brian. I can see who you are. But when it's my digital persona, it can be controlled and manipulated. And I agree with you. I think some of the people at the top, they don't even know what's going on. And that's a little scary because it can go somewhere that maybe they don't even know where it is anymore. And maybe they can't turn it off.
Well, that's in essence, that's sort of where we're at, right? Like the machines have turned on. From a Terminator perspective, Skynet is on, and we can't shut it off. So there was a moment during, every few months we have these nonsensical hearings on Capitol Hill where they drag in Zuckerberg from Facebook and Jack Dorsey from Twitter and the rest of them. And in one of the hearings, I tweeted at Jack and I said, do you shadow ban? And he responded to me and wrote no. And I thought that was pretty interesting because, okay, so now you're saying you don't shadow ban, but does that really mean anything? Because however you define shadow ban, like, I don't know how he defines shadow ban. So I think it's become so many lies are just sort of sitting everywhere. And by the way, I'm not saying this guy is purely evil. He's built something that I spend an awful lot of time on. I wish I spent less time on it. I try not to be on it on the weekends, but I'm not saying these people are all evil. In a weird way, Mark Zuckerberg, sometimes I have an odd amount of sympathy for him because there was a real interesting moment in one of the hearings when AOC, who's just the queen of ridiculousness, when she basically was saying to him, you need to censor hate speech, and which really was outsourcing tyranny, right? I mean, she's a government official pressuring a private company, the head of a private company, to censor speech. That's against the First Amendment. I mean, that's in essence the government coercion on speech. Mm-hmm. He basically looked at her and he's like, I can't do that. That's not what I do. Now, he's made all sorts of, I think, mistakes and misjudgments along the way. But again, it's like these guys, they started something 20 years ago. They had no idea what it was going to turn into. And I think the only thing we can do is get out there, talk to real people, really try to figure out new ways to connect with people. And the irony, of course, is that those new ways are really the old ways, which is just face-to-face meeting. And then, in the last year and a half, they locked us down. So we had a big tech problem. We had an information problem. And then suddenly they locked us down. And then we're on these things probably, I don't know, everyone probably tripled their usage, if not more, in the last year and a half, which was probably the worst thing that we could have done.
Yeah, no, really well said. And I guess I hadn't thought of the Skynet reference, but I think you're right. And the algo now is optimizing for clicks, emotions, and it'll just keep spinning that algo up to maximize the attention grab, which probably turns into ad dollars. And that's a little worrying if that's gotten
well, Brian, think about it this way. On YouTube, on any given moment, there's suggested videos on the right side of the video, on the right side, right? So let's say somebody really is enjoying this conversation between us. Well, YouTube could just decide, and I would love to talk to a YouTube engineer about this. By the way, these companies you would think they're these giant sort of amorphous companies that are in every part of our lives. It's funny, they have no PR people. You never see anyone get interviewed anywhere. Remember, Jack did go on Joe Rogan one time, but somehow they have no PR teams. No one ever explains anything. Imagine if you got locked out of your Gmail. Could you call Google? I mean, it's just incredible how big they've become. But just think about it this way. People that are watching this right now, let's say they're somewhat politically aligned with us. Well, if YouTube wanted, could YouTube not very easily just say, boy, you know, Brian and Dave are pretty scary. We're going to suggest all counter stuff in that bar right there, because we don't want people watching too much of this. Now, I'm not accusing them of doing it, but I'm saying we just don't know what they could be doing to us. And because their lack of transparency is so huge, it only can let you think about the worst.